Welcome back to the Nightlife podcast, season 4, episode 3. Guys, and today we're going to talk about a subject that is very important, and it's marketing and advertising. But we are going to be talking to somebody who has changed things around a little bit from what they normally used to do of driving clientele to the retail location. And they are now focused on helping you, especially restaurants that are the ones that are open at the time, on raising sales and delivery and bringing customers online that are not only new, customers one time, but customers that could become later on lifetime customers. So, so season 4, episode 3 starts now. All right, guys. So without further ado, here is Tristen from orderingads.com. Tristen, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing amazing.
Man, thank you for dressing up for the podcast, man. I appreciate that.
This is how I dress every day, believe it or not.
Good to see your generation doing so.
Oh, I know, right?
You know what? It used to be that way in my days. It was kind of like anybody doing anything like what you do. It had to be that way. I don't know what's I mean, it's changed. I don't know if it's a positive or negative thing. I know things have changed. I am trying to evolve and be more, I guess, less, care less and worry more about being comfortable than anything. But I realize also that a lot of times I am more comfortable when I'm dressed up. I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I feel like I have an older mindset about things. I don't like a lot of things millennials are doing. I don't really necessarily relate to. So, maybe that's part of it. But yeah, it definitely does feel better. So.
Right. So, all right. So why don't you tell people a little bit about what it is that you do? I mean, ordering ads, I guess it already kind of tells a little bit about it.
That was the goal with the name. But basically, our mission is to help restaurants grow as fast as a tech company. We have a kind of a very futuristic mindset and vision of the restaurant industry and where it's going. And, we believe that the restaurant industry should be scalable, revenue should be predictable, and especially when it comes to marketing and, driving online orders, e-commerce and retail has gone the route of let's sell things online, let's sell things in a predictable way, let's know what our cost to acquire a customer is, and let's make sure the business is predictable. So, we're kind of taking that mindset from tech companies and e-commerce companies and kind of transitioning that to the restaurant industry.
I see. So, yeah. So, all right. So we met through a friend who recommended your services and for the restaurant specifically. We spoke. It was right at the time when we decided to close again here in Florida. Things are not, good yet. Yeah. So it's not really worth opening doors for many. The location that we're in is specifically not good, not so good for delivery and pickup and that kind of thing. Yeah. And the food that we have is more catered to an actual dine-in experience. Even though I have actually seen people who are, pre-COVID were dedicated to an experience like ours, very fine dining, right. And they were able to change that around a little bit, and with either doing some kind of broadcasting and even sending a waiter to the houses and taking care of them, stuff like that. Right. Yeah, when it's fine dining and high end. And people were paying high prices for that kind of for the food, and they just love the whole thing and the whole experience. People are willing to continue to pay and for a different experience and a different memory. But in the end, it's an experience. So that's one of the issues that we have. But in general, we're talking about the product, the food that people still need, and even though they are, we're home and a lot of people are stuck at home, and the restaurants are not doing as well as they wish they were, that is one of the ways to stay afloat. A lot of the restaurants have not been able to figure out how to make this happen. How do I bring people to my restaurant that don't know of my restaurant? Number one.
Right.
I mean, before it used to be, okay, I will put an ad on the newspaper. I will put an
Right.
ad on the, on the local paper, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That printed flyer around the neighborhood, that kind of thing. A lot of that has, disappeared and been replaced, by technology, guys, and
Yeah.
social media and all these things. So that's where you people come in, and you guys
Yeah. Pretty much.
get creative. So I know you were originally driving customers to the venues, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, so what is the difference now?
Yeah. So right now, like you said before, it's all about the majority of people right now. Majority of restaurants we're speaking to, the majority of their sales volume, or a big portion of the sales volume, is all ordering, right? And that's where kind of the opportunity is, not just right now because of the pandemic, but in the future. 40% of all ordering right now is online, and those numbers are just going up, right? E-commerce grew by, I think it was 12% in 8 weeks, right? So if we're talking about online order market penetration and e-commerce market penetration, it's only going up as time goes on, right? Everything is gearing towards accessibility. And it's like there's two extremes right now. It's like either you have your experience or you have, your food. Just in general, it's as if you're going to have to become more specialized, and either you're going to be really heavy on experience, or you're going to be really heavy on delivering a really specialized type of dish to your consumer. So the difference between what we were doing before, which was obviously based around retail, is when you have an online ordering system, everything is trackable. Everything is trackable, right? If you're getting someone to go to your website to order from you, you can track the cost per purchase. You can track all the numbers. Everything, right? The same way a big e-commerce brand like Amazon knows what their cost to acquire customer is. Those numbers. So because of that, it's all about how do we get people to make an impulse purchase by seeing an ad on, say, Facebook. It's all about the impulse purchase. Because all day long, people are in their house working remotely, and they're scrolling on their phone or they're on the computer. I don't know that many people who are able to focus for that long period of time without pulling up their phone, especially when they're not at work, right?
Right.
And it's about getting someone to make an impulse purchase. You scroll down Facebook, you see an ad, and guess what? It takes a couple clicks of a button to get someone to order, which is a lot easier to get someone to purchase than actually have them come into the restaurant. So basically, what we're doing is we're running ads on Facebook. We're hiring a professional photographer, getting them to take some really amazing photos, because at the end of the day, your photos are super important. Your content is super important. Your presentation is super important, especially in your photos, because your competitors are on Uber Eats, they're on Facebook, and they're advertising too. So if you have a better piece of content, you're going to be more persuasive, number one. Number two, the other piece of this is having persuasive copy, having persuasive words to actually sell the food. And if you do both of those two things and you're running an ad on Facebook, you can run a specific type of ad called a conversion ad, which optimizes for purchases, right?
Right.
So if you optimize an ad for a purchase, then Facebook is going to find people likely to purchase. So if you run that type of ad and you're tracking everything, you can see, okay, how much does it cost for us to get an online order? So one of my clients right now, Mark Rogers, shout out to Mark if he's watching this. I don't know if he is, but he's located in Texas. And, he has a restaurant called Mixed Up Burgers, and obviously burgers, super, super deliverable. And, we generated about $17,000 in online orders last month, and we're able to track all those numbers. And
Right.
he's paying about $5 to generate an order. It's a $5 cost per order. So we spend $5 to make $25 to $30. And that's another thing too, when it comes to actually what people are purchasing right now. People are purchasing more out of necessity than they are out of enjoyment, especially if they're low on money, right? And they're getting tired of grocery store food. So things like family style meals, which increase your average ticket, if you start selling something like that, you can spend $5 on an ad on Facebook, generate a $40 purchase with an ad, and guess what happens? Once you know that $5, all you have to do is spend money to make money on that ad. So
Right.
that's kind of the strategy, which is very different to retail, where retail's more difficult to track and just requires a kind of completely different strategy.
So what do you think makes it so hard for an owner to make a decision to start paying for a service like something like this? Because I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
You can tell people exactly, how to do this, and a lot of people know how to create an ad on Facebook. A lot of people know how to
Yeah.
do this on Instagram. I'm sure there are other platforms where this can be done too, even though I would agree that the most effective would be on something like Facebook,
Yeah.
which you can do Facebook, Instagram at the same time.
Yeah.
But people go to platforms like YouTube for different type of video, watching and enjoyment, and I guess, are not really staying on an ad for food, or I don't know, just the way I'm just thinking out loud here at the moment.
Yeah.
But telling somebody how to do it, and for them actually going there into Facebook and creating the ad and making sure they have the right, copy or wording or letters. A lot of people don't
Right.
understand what copy means even, or actually, the right picture or the right video, or
Right.
if they should have video or picture, or if they should have a few different pictures.
Right.
Understanding all those little details is, part of what makes, what you guys do so important. So I always
Yeah.
recommend to hire somebody that can do this, right, the same way that back in the day people used to spend their money, on the newspaper that they knew people were
Yeah.
reading, or on
Right.
a TV ad in the, put a commercial on the, on the show that people are watching, not just where nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is, I see that you are actually going to be able to know how much you are spending, and how much, like you just said,
Yeah.
$5, a conversion,
Right.
and we're talking about people that are, depending on the restaurant, but the price of the ticket is going to, go higher. I
Yeah.
assume that if the ticket is a lot higher, if it's a really high, high end kind of price, then that cost per customer may end up going up, but it's still going to be worth it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, to answer that, I mean, there's a couple different questions in there. One of the things you just mentioned is, why don't more restaurants, even though they know something like this is something that works, or, why don't they go ahead and do it? And I think the main reason why that is, and the reason why the restaurant industry has been slow to embrace things like this, marketing just in general.
Right.
Generally speaking, restaurants have used 2 to 5% of their budget on advertising in general. Many other industries are willing to spend a lot more than that. And I mean, it's a couple different things. One is the ability to track, because traditionally, even with something like the newspaper, the main way that you would track is with a coupon, right? That's like the only way people were able to track things, or someone coming in with the newspaper. But then again, people were using coupons most of the time, right?
Right.
So because of that, and because of, things like Groupon, where Groupon's ruined so many restaurant and retail businesses business completely, right?
Right.
With these coupons and bringing in the wrong type of customer, it's like restaurant owners feel like they have to discount their product, which so many agencies and companies are still selling. Hey, discount your product, which only works for a specific type of restaurant. And even still, you're bringing in not the type of clientele you want, right? So because of that, it's either coupon or it's like nothing, right? But the thing is, things have changed, right? You no longer have to have a coupon to generate a sale, right? In fact, you never needed a coupon. It just wasn't so trackable in the past. But
Right.
now that it's trackable, it's like you can make sure you're getting a return on what you're spending. But it's like, if you're so used to having to discount, or so used to being in a business where you just never can track anything, then you don't want to do it, because you don't even know if this is going to work for you, right? And I think the other thing is, in the past, the competitive landscape was so much different as it is now. I mean, if you're on a third-party ordering system, you're like a deer running in a pack of deer. I mean, it's like, which deer are you going to shoot? They kind of all look the same, right?
Right.
There's 15 Italian restaurants in a 3-mile radius of me. They all offer free delivery. Who am I going to purchase from if I've never heard of any of these before, right?
Right.
Is my price going to be a decision, or how do you even make a decision as a consumer? Or even on Google, right? If I Google an Italian restaurant and I scroll through, I'm going to see 20 Italian restaurants. I mean, I might choose who comes up at the top, or what's the difference between a 4.4 star and a 4.5 star? As a consumer, I don't really see a difference between those two things, right?
Right.
There's like 30 restaurants with 4.4 stars on Facebook. And the thing is, I talk to restaurant owners all day long, pretty much every day. And I always hear, kind of the same thing. I ask, what differentiates you from the competition? And it's always, food is fresh made. There's a lot of chains around us, and we're better than them. That's almost kind of always the answer. And it's like right now we're in a landscape where marketing and getting yourself out there, it has never been more important than it's ever been before. And the market has changed so much, and catching up with where the market is going and how consumers are making decisions is a hard thing to do. And most restaurants, if you guys are watching this, you probably work in your business. You work for 12 hours a day, right? All day long. I mean, you're doing so many different jobs. By the time you get home, thinking about marketing is not something you want to do. Most restaurant owners, they're not passionate about doing that anyway. They just do it because they feel like they have to. And they do it because they don't think they can afford to pay for advertising, and they don't think it's going to work. So,
right.
Yeah, that's
another thing. I mean, restaurants to get right into what we're living right now, with COVID, something I hear a lot is people say, first thing we caught was marketing dollars, and I believe it's the biggest mistake. I mean, but then again, I'm biased. I come from the marketing side of the business, so I've always understood how important it is. And I every time that I hear wherever I'm a partner, if a partner is going in that different direction as to to spending in marketing, and advertising and promoting, etc., I always I just back up and I'm like, you'll see. I know what ends up happening in the end because numbers show it right away.
Me too.
But let me ask you a different question. How important is it that the product is, perfect or you know what I mean? I'm wondering for something that you guys do, for something to work, a campaign, to be, profitable or be productive or be, effective, a success. What are the consequences if you get those customers and they order and they get the food, but then when they actually arrives, it's not anything from, the copy was amazing and the picture was great, but then it arrived and it was not what you actually, promised? Yeah,
I mean, for one, there definitely has to be like congruency between your advertising in general, right? If your advertising needs to match your product, right? Just generally speaking.
And that's in every market for sure. 100%. Yeah.
No matter what business you're in, if you're looking for lifetime customers, then yeah, absolutely. That's super important. Now, in general, if we're talking about just how important is the product just across the board, and I would say at this point, it's really about specialization, right? It's really about being the best at what you do. You can't really be Cheesecake Factory. I mean, that works for them where they have you open up the menu and you're like, it's like an ocean. You're just like reading through the pages and you're like, you're sitting there for 35 minutes trying to figure out what you want to order because there's 200 items. Like the days of being able to do that are kind of gone, right? It's like Ryan Grofflin, he has a site called The Restaurant Boss. This is something that he talks about. Shout out to Ryan if he's watching this. He's a great restaurant consultant. But he talks about how it's becoming more extreme. It's either becoming even more healthy or even more unhealthy, right? It's like Instagrammable food. If you go on Instagram and you type in the hashtag food porn, you'll see videos of the craziest menu items, milkshakes with sparklers or something like that, just crazy menu items, right? Crazy menu items that are super unhealthy, that who in the right mind would eat this? Waffles with fried chicken with a giant bottle of syrup being poured on the chicken. You see this on Instagram, right? And it's just becoming more extreme unhealthy or more extreme healthy. And, in general, if you're going to succeed in the marketplace, you have to become even more specialized at what you're doing. It's almost like it's no longer okay to just be an Italian restaurant. You have to have something that really unique that really differentiates you in the marketplace. Otherwise, when people go to you, they're going to kind of look at you as a commodity, right? The restaurant business in general, it's a perfectly competitive market, just like airlines, right? If I go on 2 different airlines, there's little nuanced differences between each airline I go to. And unless I go on an airline like Virgin, for example, where it's completely different, Delta, well, I mean, what's the difference between Delta and American? I mean, there's slight differences. So it's like if you're a restaurant, you have to start thinking in terms of how can I be more like Virgin Galactic, or how can I be more like SpaceX, and how can I be less like, Delta, Spirit, Frontier, where everyone's almost the same, right? You got to really start to think in terms of differentiation. And that's what I see as being one of the biggest, most important things right now in the marketplace, especially when it comes to selling, food and getting people to order.
Right. Another thing you just mentioned is the word lifetime customer. That's one of the most important parts too, because people think, okay, $5 to acquire this customer who spent $30 on this ticket, but are they coming back? How many times are they coming back? And that's
right.
So measuring that is also very, very important. And that's where the service, the service and the product comes in even more. So that's important too. I was wondering, I'm going to throw this question at you, and I don't know if there's an answer, and if not, I expect one from you later on.
Sure.
But I've been trying to figure out how something like this could help the nightlife industry in general. Bars are suffering so much right now. I mean, restaurants. We're talking about restaurants at this moment more. It is your specialty, but besides that, it's the fact that they are the ones that are open. They are selling alcohol at this moment because people do need their drinks and their to de-stress.
That's right.
But the reality is that the bars, the ones that have no food whatsoever, and clubs are mostly are shut down, at least in the U.S. But they're starting to open. In the rest of the world, Europe started to open in some countries, and Canada started to open. So I don't know if there's anything that you can think of or that you already know of that works in this sense for those businesses, especially because of the fact that they're not really doing delivery of anything. I mean, at the moment, so it's more about driving clientele to their venues, really, when this all is gone, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would do, and here's what I know works when we were focused on retail. Some of our clients right now, they're bars, but they also sell food, and of course they're doing to-go drinks, which works with the same thing I mentioned before. The same strategy does work with to-go drinks, especially to-go margaritas are really crushing it right now. But as far as the nightlife business, what you really want to do right now is you really want to hype it up. You really want to hype up your relaunch. You really want to sell it as a relaunch, a grand reopening. Just make it seem really big, because people right now, they've been stuck in their house. They're cramped in front of their computer. They're tired of being in the house right now.
Right.
So I think the market is definitely there, and I think you really need to sell the relaunch, and you need to talk to what's already in people's heads. What are people thinking right now? They're thinking, I'm tired of being in the house. They're thinking, I've been working remotely. I've barely seen my friends or family. That's a case for many people. They're thinking, I don't have the events or activities I had in the past. If you look at social media comments right now, they're especially negative. I know, because I'm running ads right now for my brand, and I see negative comments all the time.
Yeah.
People are just angry right now. That's the climate. So knowing those things, right? Putting yourself in the mind of the consumer, as a nightclub owner, you know what to say. Just, talk about your experience. Talk about the fact that, you've been cramped up in your ad. Talk about the fact, you've been cramped up in the house. It's time to get out, and it's time to celebrate life. It's time to, take some time to de-stress and, let your worries drift away. That's the type of messaging that's going to resonate with people right now, right?
Right.
So if I was in that position, no matter whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, or what you're doing when it comes to social media. That type of messaging is what's going to resonate with people. And you've got to really sell it like a grand opening and make it seem like a giant thing. Like really, really sell the launch of your brand if you were shut down, especially. So
Right. Yeah. So the bottom line there is, you know, when people look at this, they have to say, I cannot miss it. I must be there. And they have to
yeah,
get that, you know, that anxiety, that feeling, you know, I,
right.
I, I mean, I agree 100%. It's just, it's, you know, scary the fact that we don't really know when this whole thing is going to be completely over. You know, I feel it's not forever, 100%. I don't, you know, it'll be there around forever, but it's not gonna be the same
Yeah,
issue after the vaccine or whatever. Um, but it's good for people to be prepared. What I do not recommend is that if you are open, that you're skimming on marketing, because
yeah,
you need, you know, and if you really do not have a budget because you really, really, really cannot, you know, because it sounds cheesy, but I always say you can't afford to not hire, you know, marketing, uh, you know, company or an advertising. Honestly, that's the truth. You just said it. $5 per customer for the $30, you know, ticket. That is, um, I believe you, because that's what I've seen, you
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
and it's real. It's possible. You know, and it may not be around forever, because you know things are going to change. I know at some point in time, acquiring a customer on Facebook was a lot cheaper even, and it was crazy. Um, but I believe people cannot skim down on this expense, you know, ever. It's the last thing that they should be doing.
I
Um,
agree.
so, any last recommendations you want to give before I let you go? Because you are a busy man. I see that you have a full schedule.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I guess my last piece of advice would be this, and this is what I've been telling my clients, and this is what I've been telling people since the beginning of the pandemic, and this is more of like a mindset thing. You know, you have a couple different options right now. Number one, you can wait for the market to improve, and you can kind of just like wait things out, and you can hope and pray things get better. That's one option. Another option is you can just do absolutely nothing. And then there's a third option, which is you can take massive action, right? Or, I mean, you could take some action. I guess that'd be a fourth action. But especially, and the fourth option is you can take massive action, right? Because right now you can either be in a mindset of scarcity or you can be in a mindset of abundance, right? At the end of the day, it's like those are your options. Most people right now, if you're down, you know, they're thinking in terms of scarcity. They're trying to save every dollar. They're trying to, you know, they're fearful, and it's okay and it's understandable to be that way, but you can't be paralyzed by that fear, and you can't let that stop you from taking action. You know, at the end of the day, when everyone else is afraid, that's opportunity for people who are willing to capitalize
right.
on the market. When things are the most turbulent, that's when there's the most opportunity. So look at it as an opportunity to rise and become a better person and grow a better business and figure out how to, you know, get more customers and grow as an obstacle.
Right. All right, Tristan. Thank you so much for all your insight on this, and for sharing this information. Um, Let me ask you, where can people find you and get a hold of you and hopefully hire your company to help them out?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always open to a conversation. So you can go on Facebook, just type in my name. You can go to LinkedIn, just type in my name, or you can go to orderingads.com.
All right. All right. So I'm gonna let you go with that. And again, extremely thankful for your time, and I will definitely be contacting you. I will, even though I'm doing a combination of number one and number four, because I'm also praying a little. I am, I am definitely more of, you know, I agree with you. I'm on number four, and I'm not gonna stop indefinitely. So
Yeah,
again, thank you for your time,
yeah,
and
Julio.
um, guys, do not forget, you can get my book on Amazon You follow me at the Nightlife Entrepreneur on Instagram. You find all the courses on nightlife.university, and you can find all the episodes on nightlifepodcast.com. See you guys next week.
Awesome.